my ex-wife asked. "Can you be my husband for tonight?" And I said, "But only if you don't leave tomorrow." And the look on her face when I added that one condition is something I will carry with me until the day, good Lord, calls me home. She was standing on my front porch in Boone Creek, Arkansas, at 9:47 on a Friday night in October, soaked through from the rain, holding a wedding invitation with my name still printed on it, like a hymnal pressed against her chest. I had not seen Marlene in 14 months. I had not heard her voice in 11. We had signed the divorce papers in a booth at the Bluebird Diner, and I had driven home and cried in my truck until the sun came up. I told myself I would never open this door to her again, but there she was, the woman I married under a sycamore tree in 1989 when I was 23 years old, and certain I knew what forever meant. The woman who sang "It Is Well" over our son's grave because I couldn't get the words past my throat. The woman who left me when I was already on the ground because she said she couldn't watch me drown anymore. My name is Wade Hollister, 58 years old. 40 head of cattle on the land my daddy left me, and I had not set foot inside a church in 2 years, 8 months, and 12 days. Not since the morning we buried our boy. Marlene clung to her faith. I clung to my silence. And between those two prayers, our 31-year marriage broke clean in half. But what Marlene did not know when she knocked on my door that night, what nobody in Boone Creek knew, was that I had been sitting at my kitchen table every night for 6 months, reading my mama's old King James Bible by the light of one lamp, finding my way back to a God I had cursed at the side of Highway 62. So when my ex-wife asked if I could be her husband for tonight, I already knew my answer was yes. But why did Marlene drive through a thunderstorm to ask a man she divorced to pretend to be her husband for one more day? What was she so terrified to tell her dying mama and her 83-year-old daddy before our daughter's wedding? And what made a broken-down cattle farmer who hadn't sung a hymn in nearly 3 years look the only woman he ever loved in the eye and say, "Yes, but only if you don't leave tomorrow. Stay with me." Because what happened in the next 48 hours inside that little white church on the hill in Boone Creek, Arkansas, what God restored that we thought was buried forever, is something I still cannot tell without weeping. She didn't say anything when I opened the door. She just looked at me. The porch light was yellow. The rain came sideways. Her hair, which she had kept long all her life, was pinned up the way she used to do for church. There was a streak of gray at her temple I didn't remember, and she was so beautiful it took the wind out of me. "Wade," she said. "Marl." It came out before I could stop it. Marl. I hadn't called her that in a year and a half. She closed her eyes for 1 second, like the word hurt her. "Can I come in?" "It's pouring." I stepped back. She walked past me into the entry hall and stopped. She looked around the living room like a woman visiting a museum of her own life. The couch was still where she'd left it. The lamp her grandmother gave us was still on the side table. The picture of the 4 of us at Beaver Lake in 2008 was still on the mantel. I hadn't moved one thing. She set the wedding invitation down on the entry table. Her hand was shaking. "You got yours," she said. "Yeah. I wasn't sure you'd come. I told Hannah I would. I'd walk through fire for that girl, Marl." "You know that?" "I know." She stood there with her arms wrapped around herself, dripping rainwater onto my hardwood. I went to the bathroom and brought her a towel. She took it without looking up. "Coffee?" I said. Because 31 years of marriage, and I had no other instinct left in me. "Please." She followed me to the kitchen and sat down at the oak table she had picked out at an estate sale in Eureka Springs in 1994. And then she saw it. My mama's Bible, open to the place I had left it that morning. Her hand moved toward it, just a little. Then she pulled it back. She didn't ask. But I could see the question land behind her eyes like a bird settling. I poured 2 cups. I remembered without thinking that she took hers with cream and 1 sugar. She remembered without thinking that I took mine black. Not, neither of us said anything about it. Wade, she said, I need to ask you something. And I need you to let me finish before you answer. I sat down across from her. Okay. Marl. She wrapped both hands around her coffee mug, like she was trying to hold on to something that wasn't there. She drew in a breath. And then she told me what she had come to say. She wrapped both hands around her coffee mug like she was holding on to something that wasn't there. The percolator ticked on the back burner. The rain pressed against the kitchen window. And then Marlene drew in a breath and told me what she had driven through a thunderstorm to say. 5. Hannah pulled me aside tonight at the rehearsal dinner. At the church, she told me she wants both her parents walking her down that aisle tomorrow. She said you already agreed to that part. And then she asked me if I'd sit with you at the reception, not separate tables. With you. Marlene's voice cracked. She said, Mama, I just want one day where my family looks like a family again. Just one day. Then you can go back to whatever you two are doing. She pressed her hand to her mouth. I didn't move. I didn't trust myself to. She's 26 years old, Wade. She's getting married tomorrow without her brother there. And she asked me for one thing. Okay, I said. 5, but that's not all of it. She set the coffee mug down. Her hands were trembling. I never told them, Wade. Mama, Daddy, Bonnie, none of them. I told them 2 years ago. We were just working through some things. I never told them about the divorce. I couldn't make my mouth say the word. I felt the floor shift under me. Marmama had her stroke last spring. Daddy's 83. I tried 6 different times to tell them, and I couldn't put it on them. So tomorrow, the whole family is going to be there. And they're going to expect us to sit together and dance together and pose for the pictures together. And I cannot walk into Boone Creek Baptist Church tomorrow morning and tell my mama, who can barely talk since the stroke, that I have been lying to her. For 2 years, I cannot do that to Hannah on her wedding day. She looked up at me. Her eyes were full and her hands were shaking around the mug. B5. Wade, can you be my husband for tomorrow? Just for one day. Just for Hannah and Mama and Daddy. Just for the pictures. I know I have no right to ask you. I know what I did. I left you when you were already on the ground. And I have prayed about it every single night for 14 months. I am so sorry, Wade. I'm so sorry, but I am begging you. Can you be my husband for one more day? The kitchen went so quiet I could hear the percolator cooling. I looked at her. The woman I had loved since I was 23. The woman who'd held my hand through the worst night of my life at a hospital in Harrison. The woman who'd sung, "It is well," over our son's grave because I couldn't. And I heard myself say it. 5. Yes. She exhaled like a woman who had been holding her breath for a year. Thank you, Wade. Thank you. But only if you don't leave tomorrow. She froze. What? I'll be your husband tomorrow, Marl. I'll walk Hannah down that aisle. I'll smile for the pictures. I'll dance with you to whatever your mama wants us to dance to. But not for one day. I can't do one day. If we walk into that church tomorrow morning and pretend to be married, I am not going to be able to walk out at the end of it and pretend we are not. Her eyes filled. Wade, I'm not asking you to come home. I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking you to stay through the weekend. Sit on the porch with me Sunday morning. Talk to me. Talk to me the way we should have talked 3 years ago. That's my condition. She put her hand over her mouth. A tear slipped down her cheek and landed on the table between us, and then her eyes moved to the Bible. You've been reading, she whispered. 5 since May. She closed her eyes, and what she said next broke something open in me I had been holding shut for 3 years. Your mama told me she was praying for you. Right before she passed, she held my hand in that hospital bed and she said, Marlene, don't you give up on him? The Lord is not done with my boy. And I told her I already had given up. And I was so ashamed of it I couldn't look at her. And she squeezed my hand. She said, Then start praying again, honey. The Lord doesn't need your certainty. He just needs your willingness. She opened her eyes. The tears came down freely now. I have been praying for you every night since she died. Wade. Every single night. Even when I was so angry at you I couldn't see straight. Even when I was so angry at myself I couldn't sleep. Every night. I couldn't speak. I reached across that oak table and I took her hand. The first time I had touched her in over a year. Her fingers were cold. They fit into mine the way they always had. Like they had been measured for the job. Stay through Sunday. Marl. She looked at me for a long moment. Yes, I made up the guest room for her. The one that used to be Caleb's. The one I had repainted a soft blue 2 summers ago, because I could not bear to keep it the way he had left it, but could not bear to change it either. I gave her one of my flannel shirts to sleep in. She stood in the doorway holding the shirt and looked at me. And we both knew what we were doing and what we were not. Good night, Wade. Good night, Marl. I lay awake until 3 in the morning. I read Psalm 23 4 times, and then I prayed for the first time in 2 years, 8 months, and 12 days. It wasn't a long prayer. It was just, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. But she is under my roof again, and I think you did that, and I'm asking you to help me not mess it up. When I finally slept, I dreamed about the sycamore tree. I woke at 5:30. The coffee was already on. And Marlene was sitting at my kitchen table in my flannel shirt, reading my mama's Bible. She looked up. Morning. Morning. Yours is still black, right? Yes, ma'am. She poured me a cup. I sat down across from her. The sun was coming up, pink, over the back pasture, and the rain had stopped sometime in the night, and the world smelled like wet hay and possibility. What time at the church? 9:30? Okay, Wade. Marl, before you say anything, I need to tell you something. And I need you to let me finish. She nodded. I wrapped both hands around the coffee mug. And I told her the truth I had been holding in for 3 years. After Caleb died, I blamed God. I sat in that church for 6 months after the funeral, and I hated every word coming out of my mouth, and out of the choir's mouth, and out of Pastor Earl's mouth. I thought, if God is good, my boy is alive. And my boy is not alive, so either God is not good or God is not there. And I couldn't live with either one of those, so I just stopped. I took a breath. But I didn't just stop with God, Marl. I stopped with you. Every time you tried to talk to me about Caleb, I shut the door. Every time you cried, I went to the barn. I told myself I was protecting you from how angry I was. But the truth is I was scared. I was scared that if I let you see how broken I was, you would leave. My voice cracked. And then you did. And I told myself, see, I was right. But Marl, you didn't leave because I let you see. You left because I wouldn't. She was crying, silent, tears running down her face into her coffee. I have been so angry at you for 14 months. And I have been so angry at myself for 34. And last night, when you walked through that door, I realized I am tired, Marlene. I am tired of being angry. I am tired of being alone in a house I built for you. I am tired of pretending I do not still love you, because I do. I reached across the table. I never stopped, not for one day. She put both hands over her face. Her shoulders shook. I have been reading my mama's Bible for 6 months, I said, and I haven't told anybody, because I did not want anybody to have hope until I had hope. But I think he is bringing me back, Marl, slowly. And I think he sent you here last night. I don't know if you came here on your own or if he sent you, but I am taking it as the mercy I do not deserve. She lowered her hands. Her face was wet, and she said only one word, Wade. She got up and came around the table, and she put her arms around my neck the way she used to do when I came in from the field. I pulled her into my lap, and I held my wife, my ex-wife, my wife, the only woman I have ever loved. And we cried in that kitchen until the coffee went cold. When she could talk again, she whispered into my shoulder, I never stopped loving you either, Wade. Not for one day. I know. Marl, I was so scared God didn't want me anymore. For leaving you, he wants you. He never stopped wanting you. We were just too busy being broken to hear him. She nodded against my shoulder. Then she sat up, wiped her eyes. We have to be at the church in 3 hours. And I looked terrible. I laughed. The first real laugh that had come out of my body in a long, long time. You look like my wife, I said. She started crying again, but this time she was smiling. We pulled up to Boone Creek Baptist at 9:25. Marlene wore a soft green dress she'd had in her car. I wore the navy suit I'd bought for Caleb's funeral and hadn't put on since. She reached across the bench seat and took my hand walking up the gravel path. Her daddy was standing on the church steps, Earl Cobb, 83 years old, leaning on a cane, watching us come up that path holding hands. He didn't say a word, he just smiled. The kind of smile a father smiles when something he's been worrying about for 2 years quietly turns out all right. Marlene's mama sat in her wheelchair next to him. When she saw us, she lifted one shaky hand to her mouth and she started to cry. Marlene knelt beside her. "Hi, Mama." Her mama touched her face with that one shaky hand and said very slowly, the words sliding sideways out of her stroke-bent mouth, "My girl, my girl." I shook Earl's hand. He held on longer than he needed to. "5, glad you're here." "Son, glad to be here." That was all. That was everything. Then Hannah came running down the church hallway in her wedding dress, before she was supposed to see anybody. Bare feet, hair half in rollers. She stopped when she saw us in the foyer. Holding hands, she put both hands over her mouth. And then my baby girl ran the rest of the way and threw her arms around both of us at the same time. "Oh my God, Daddy, are you? We're talking?" "Baby, we're talking." She started to cry. Marlene started to cry. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. Pastor Earl Briggs came down the hall in his robe, took one look at us standing there crying, and said, "Well, I had a sermon prepared. But it appears the Lord beat me to it." I walked my daughter down the aisle at 10:30 in the morning, under the same stained glass window, where I had married her mother 34 years before. The light came through the way it had in 1989. Red and blue and gold across the wooden floor. I gave her away. I sat down next to Marlene in the front pew, and then the choir began. "Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father." I had not sung a hymn in 2 years, 8 months, and 13 days. Morning by morning new mercies I see. I opened my mouth. It came out scratchy, off-key. I missed half the words because my voice did not remember how. But it came out. And Marlene was singing next to me, and she was crying. And her mamasa was crying in the wheelchair in the aisle, and Doris Whitfield, 3 pews back, was sobbing into her handkerchief. I sang for Caleb. I sang for my mama. I sang for the man I had been 3 years ago who couldn't get the words past his throat. I sang for the man God was making me into right there in that pew, with my wife's hand in mine and my daughter at the altar. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. When the hymn ended, Marlene leaned her head against my shoulder. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The reception was at the VFW hall down the road. Folding chairs. A potluck spread. Doris had organized down to the last deviled egg, a DJ who was really Trevor's cousin with a Bluetooth speaker. Then, Trevor's cousin played "Could I Have This Dance" by Anne Murray. Marlene looked at me. I held out my hand. She took it. We danced. Slow. Her head on my shoulder. My hand at the small of her back where it had been 1,000 times before. "Wade," she whispered. "Yeah. Marl, I'm not leaving tomorrow." I closed my eyes. "I'm not leaving Sunday either. I want to come home, Wade, if you'll have me. I want to come home." I held her closer. I could not speak. I just held her, and we swayed in a VFW hall in Boone Creek, Arkansas. And our daughter watched us from across the room with her new husband's arm around her and tears on her face. And I thought of Psalm 23. He restoreth my soul. He surely does. She came home Sunday afternoon, 2 suitcases, the rest could wait. That first night, 5, she stood in the kitchen and said, "Wade, I'm scared." Of what, Marl? Of doing it wrong again. Me too. What do? We pray about it. We tell each other when it hurts. We do not do what we did before. And, Marl, we say his name. We say Caleb's name in this house out loud. He was here. He was ours. We do not pretend he wasn't. She nodded. And she cried. That night, around midnight, she came out of the guest room in my flannel shirt and stood in the doorway of our bedroom, the room I had not slept in since she left. "Wade, I don't want to sleep alone tonight." I lifted the covers on her side. She climbed in. She rolled over and put her head on my chest the way she had for 31 years. "I missed your heartbeat. I missed yours." Marl, pastors married us again last spring, quit ceremony, just family, under the same sycamore tree where I proposed in 1989. Marlene wore a cream-colored dress and her grandmother's pearls. She cried the whole way through her vows. We go to church every Sunday. Third pew from the back. I sing every hymn, sometimes off-key, always out loud. Hannah and Trevor had a baby in March, a boy. They named him Caleb Wade. The first time I held that child, I sat on my porch swing with my grandson in my arms and my wife beside me, and I wept. Marlene squeezed my hand. "He restoreth my soul," I whispered. "He surely does, Wade. He surely does." There is a verse in the Bible. Joel chapter 2 verse 25. "I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten." I used to think there were some things even God could not restore. 3 years of silence between me and the woman I loved. The empty chair at our table where my boy used to sit. The hymns I couldn't sing. The prayers I wouldn't pray. I was wrong. He does not restore by erasing. Caleb is still gone. There is an ache that will be there until I see my boy again in glory. But the years between Marlene and me, the years the locust ate, he gave those back. And then some. If you'd told me on December 22nd, 2019, standing in the snow at the side of Highway 62, that one day I would sit on my porch with my wife and my grandson and feel God's hand on my shoulder again, I would have called you a liar. But here I am. So, if you are out there listening, and you have been frozen for years, and you cannot sing the hymns, and you have pushed away the people who love you because you could not bear to be seen, listen to me. He is not done with you. He was not done with me, and I had given up. He was not done with Marlene, and she had given up on me. He was not done with us. Even after we signed the papers and walked our separate ways, sometimes he works through stained glass and hymns. Sometimes through a Bible left on a kitchen counter. Sometimes through a daughter who just wants her family to look like a family for one day. And sometimes he works through an ex-wife standing on your porch in the rain at 9:47 on a Friday night in October, asking you to be her husband for one more day. When she asks, say yes, but say it with a condition. Tell her not to leave tomorrow. Because tomorrow is where God does his best work. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments. 5. Have you ever had something restored you thought was gone for good? A marriage, a faith, a friendship. I read every one. And if there is somebody you have been frozen toward, a husband, a wife, a child, an old friend, maybe today is the day you knock on their door. The Lord is not done with you. He is not done with any of us. God bless you. Hug your folks, sing the hymns, and I will see you in the next story.